Hello, everybody. Just checking in. Let me get my volume turned down on my phone. Anyway, so hi, this is Laura from Healthy Carnivore. Little backstory: I'm a registered nurse. I have been a nurse for over 22 years. Right now, I do home health. I've done pretty much every type of nursing except for pediatric and obstetrics. Not my thing. Either one of those two. So those are what I have not done, like labor and delivery. God bless those people who do that, but that's not I. So yes. So it is warm in here. So if my face turns red, it's because it's warm in here. So whew. Anyway, so tonight's talk is going to be over eczema, and psoriasis. There is a lot of that out there. I've seen a lot of good outcomes. With like this lotion that I do. Of course, you got to change what you're doing on the inside. Otherwise, it's not going to help a whole lot on the outside. But I've had quite a few clients, patients, just people I know um, that use the psoriasis eczema lotion that I make and have great outcomes. So, but they're also, like I said, they're also changing some of the things that they put in their body, which is what you have to do as well. So, I will start with this. I need a fan in here. Anyway, enough about me whining. So, these are both skin conditions. I'm sure most everybody on here will know of somebody who has this condition. Um, it's pretty common. So, if you don't have it yourself or have had some, very rarely when I was in my early 20s, I would get some psoriasis type patches in my eyebrows. Um, but I went keto at 20, so that kind of helped a lot of that. So let's see. Brenda says, "Good evening. Was watching Wick. I don't think I realized you had weighed 313 pounds." Yes, I did. All of it. And I'm 5'6", so I kind of look like a Rubik's Cube. Um, I had got up to 244 at 5'4". Yep, I was 313. Hey, Thomas, how are you? Hey, Grace. So yes, 313 pounds. It was it was a sight to see because I am very short. I'm skinnier on the top and then the hips and the things. So yeah, it looked very odd. And then of course my husband was at the time, he was 6 foot and about 123 pounds. So I'm sure we quite look like the odd couple, which we were. So first, I'm going to go over eczema. So most of the time, it's atopic dermatitis. There are several side branches to this disorder. A friend of mine, she gets it on her hands. Um, which is horrible, itching, blistering, So this is an inflammatory skin condition that causes red, itchy, dry patches and blisters. It is often triggered by allergens, irritants, stress, changes in the weather. So I know people who say that it really affects them as we're going into spring and everything's pollinating, and then also in the fall. And I don't know if that's because they're taking out a lot of the fields and you're getting the dust, or I'm not sure. It is more often common in children, but it can occur at any age. It's linked to a weakened skin barrier and an overactive immune response. So that tells you it's an autoimmune disorder, which can be prevented. Cheryl says that sounds crazy. I'm not sure. My 313 pounds sounds crazy, or the skin stuff sounds crazy. Um, Psoriasis, this is an autoimmune condition where the immune system speeds up the growth cycle of the skin cells, leading to thick, scaly patches that are often red or silver. Most of the people I've taken care of, they're real silver looking. It commonly appears on the elbows, knees, scalp, and lower back. Triggers include stress, infections, injuries to the skin, certain medications, and of course, an inflammatory diet. So I'm sure some of you have heard one of the people I had worked with before. 96 years old. When I walked in, I could see her legs sticking out from the blanket, and she had plaques. I mean, as big around as the bottom of a pop can. And they were thick, thick, silvery looking. And then the skin around it was kind of red. And she's sitting there eating a yogurt. She was so cute. And I looked at her and I said, "You do know you're probably going to have to give up dairy." And she goes, "I thought you was gonna say that," and she just kept eating the yogurt, and I was like, "Oh, I hate that." So, I made up some lotion for her son to put on her legs and her low back. She had it across her low back, kind of where you would put, a tramp stamp, same area, and they had been using every kind of steroidal cream. They had done everything except for the infusions, and her doctor was like, "Well, I really am pushing for these infusions." I'm like, "She's 96. You're gonna kill her immune system at 96? Really? With everything that's going on around." Okay. Anyway, so her son was like, "Nah, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna try this." Then she switched her milk to A2, I think is what they called it. And now they get raw because right there in the town they live in, there's a lady they can get raw milk from. It is illegal in Illinois to drink natural raw milk, but you can purchase the cow, be part of owner of the cow and get the milk. And that's how people are getting around that. Because, that's such an important thing to watch. It's not protect children, not to do anything like that. We need to make sure you're not eating the raw food or the food that we've eaten for, thousands of years. It's important. So, both of these cause red, inflamed skin. Eczema is usually itchier, and psoriasis is often thicker. So that's kind of how I usually can look at somebody and kind of tell the difference. Um, it's thicker and it's more defined, like the scales are very much easier. So the way skin heals itself, like when, like, let's say you've cut, or you've had a surgery, the skin kind of does like a leapfrog to close itself, okay, and it weaves itself together. So when you have an overproduction of those cells, they just keep building up. So you just keep getting more and more and more until you've got this thick, scaly patch covering the skin. And then they can dry, crack, bleed, get infections in them because they're dry and cracked. Um, it's not a pleasant thing. So they, of course, they can have different underlying causes. They can have somewhat the same causes though as well. So for eczema and psoriasis, natural treatments focus on diet and lifestyle. This can be very effective in managing the symptoms. So we'll go over some of the options. Let's see. Some doctors say parasite cause. Um, and anything that will trigger an autoimmune reaction, I'm sure could be. Um, I always think it's good to do a parasite cleanse. I think it's good to do a liver detox. Not all the time, but I do think it should be done. With the parasite cleanse, you definitely want to go out there and really research the moon phases because you want to get the adults and you also want to get the eggs and the babies when they first happen. So I do think it's a good idea. Cheryl says the 13 pounds. I can't imagine you that heavy. The pants size, the last pants, and I had them until like 10 years ago. And then I'm like, I'm throwing these away. They, it was like when you watched The Biggest Loser and you saw these people hold up these pants that they could fit into like two and a half times. They were size 26 and they were so tight that I couldn't zip or button them. And I had to get this thing that they had at TG&Y that you could hook onto your buckle on this side and it kind of gave you stretch. And I just wore long shirts so you couldn't see the zipper wasn't going up. But that is the size pants that I was wearing at way back then. So as it pertains to diet, anti-inflammatory foods, including fatty fish like salmon, sardines, and fatty meat. Eggs. Eggs is another one, but you have to watch to make sure you don't have histamine issues with the egg whites. I have histamine issues with the egg whites, so you kind of have to be careful of that. So I would start with egg yolks and then see how you do. Omega-3 fatty acids, which are found in fish oil, flax seeds, and walnuts. It's up to you if you want to add those in. I do not. I can't do walnuts. I'm allergic. These help reduce inflammation and they improve skin health. Gut health support would be like your probiotics. So you could take probiotic capsules, you could do yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, anything fermented that would help kind of reset the gut because most of the time, what happens in the gut shows up on your skin. So just be aware that you got to fix your tummy. Julie says, how by carnivore? I have had psoriasis since a kid. We'll get into that. So, because of getting rid of inflammatory things. So, most of the time, most people have had this since they were kids. But if you think about it, we're born in ketosis. If we're nursed, we're in ketosis until we are weaned. Once we are weaned, we are put on cereals. We're put on juices. We're put on, fake foods, really. And unfortunately, that's, you get the outcomes. These things that are foreign, man made materials cannot be broke down by the body. No how, no way, cannot be broke down. The body does not recognize what it is, sees it as a foreign object, and it hangs on to it most of the time out in the fat cells, out in the skin, in the bloodstream. It can get lodged in the brain, can get stuck in kidneys. It can show up anywhere. But fake things, artificial, any of those things cannot be broke down. It says artificial for a reason. And unfortunately, that's, yeah. Elimination diet. This is where I tell people I work with, even if they're not going to go carnivore permanently, I always have them do carnivore elimination diet where they go down and get rid of everything gluten, dairy, soy, even, like I said, egg whites, and any processed foods. And they have to do that for their health. It's their choice. But I recommend that they do that for at least 90 days. Um, 60 days for some people that I've been working with, just because I told them 60, because once they get to 60, they're going to feel so good that I know they'll continue to 30. But it was a guy who, when I said 90, he freaked out. So I was like, well, let's start with 60 and then we'll see how you feel at 60. So we'll see. Another thing is hydration. So not only drinking plenty of water, but make sure you have electrolytes. Soleil water, any of the like Element, Salty, any of those brands that you're able to tolerate. So those are things that you can do to help keep your skin hydrated. Yes. Mhm. Julie Jackson is asking heavy whipping cream. Well, Julie, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but for the clean out period, like when you do that elimination, I wouldn't. I really would clean it out. I would do a spring clean and I would only do meat, egg yolks, salt, and water. And I mean, you can do chicken, you can do turkey, lamb, beef, deer, fish, but I would not do heavy cream. I wouldn't do any of the other. I know it is horrible for you people who do milk products, but I have lived without them for 6 years. I promise you, you can do it for 90 days to see just how good those symptoms are. That 96-year-old that I took care of, it didn't take very long of her switching around her stuff using the lotion that her son was putting on her twice a day, I think he did. Um, and I mean, you couldn't, like, on her legs, it was right before we were getting ready to discharge. And I can remember pulling up she would always have like a blanket on her lap sitting in her recliner. And I pulled that up to look at her little shins and there was nothing there. And the really cool thing about it, which told me that it was an internal thing that she had healed up by getting rid of the regular dairy. And I think it was that protein. And I can't remember the name of that protein that causes trouble, but that is what it was for her. She wasn't lactose intolerant. She just couldn't do something with this one milk protein. I don't know. But anyway, the A2 milk or whatever that one is, it doesn't have that in it. It's free of that. So, but anyway, her skin looked like normal skin underneath there. So it wasn't like, sometimes I've had patients that their scales will come off and underneath the skin is real red. I mean, it's smooth, but it's red. So and it stays that color. It's just kind of that it's like permanently that way. She didn't have that. And then on her low back, that took a little longer. Probably some of that's because you're laying up, sitting up against something, all the time. But that healed up. And then her PCP is a nurse practitioner. And she called and asked me, "What are you doing to such and such?" And, I said, "I'm not doing anything." I said, "Her son is putting on a lotion for psoriasis and eczema." And I said, "And she cut out regular dairy and went to this A2 and raw milk." Um, and she goes, "We have tried everything." And that's when she told me they had tried. I mean, she named the different things they had tried, the different steroid creams. I'm trying to think if they had done a couple of the shots, like the steroid shots, to see if they could get it to calm down. And that's when she said, "We were thinking of doing these others." And I'm like, "This is crazy." And the son's like, "We are not doing that." I mean, too many side effects. So Bill says, "I think I could live on just eggs and bacon every meal." You maybe could. Um, I could eat ribeye fat and deer burger, hamburger, or lamb every single day of my life for the rest of my life. I love bacon, but bacon does not love me back. I get a histamine response with that and egg whites. So, unfortunately. So, you have some bacon for me, Bill, okay? Because I cannot. I wish I could. So, some of the things that you can do when it comes to lifestyle is stress management. So, practicing relaxing techniques like meditation, yoga, deep breathing. Stress can absolutely be a trigger for flare ups. Moisturizing using natural fats, fragrance free moisturizer like coconut oil, shea butter, tallow, sun exposure, moderate sunlight can help, but you don't want to do overexposure. Vitamin D supplements can also be beneficial because they help with your immune system. Um, so I had somebody that was surprised. I don't know. I watched one of these little TikTok things on Reels, and it was this Oriental skin doctor, and he was talking about starting your babies with this sunscreen, like when they're 3 months old out in the sun. And I'm just like, the hell? And so I commented on there, I don't use sunscreen. I go out and I'm pale. So I used to be somebody that could burn in 25 minutes easy. And they're like, "Well, how?" And I'm like, "Carnivore diet." And I put tallow based products on my skin, but I do not put anything that blocks out the sun. And I start out slow. So I'll spend like 20 minutes in the sun every day, work my way up, work my way up, work my way up. I've had a sunburn and I can't tell you how long. It's been a long, long time, but I had to get all those seed oils out and it took years. I'm telling you, I was at least carnivore 4.5 years before I had all those seed oils pulled out to where I did not sunburn. Because prior to that, I could go out and pick weeds in his garden and I would sunburn. It was nuts. Hey, Darth, good to see you on here. Let's see. So, Lily, la, la, la. Bill says his nose runs sometimes when he eats that, but he doesn't care. If mine was just a runny nose, I would eat bacon. I would. I would do it anyway. But mine is really bad sinus pressure. I actually get swelling so bad in the sinuses that I end up with a sinus infection. And then all my joints get so stiff that I can't hardly do anything. So, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. I missed something. Brenda said almost 5 years ketovore. Hubby had psoriasis behind his ankles. Within 2 months, it cleared up. Scars are just about gone. He likes pecans. Hmm. I don't think pecans are anti-inflammatory like a walnut is. Maybe try to talk him into trying a few walnuts and see, as long as he's not allergic. I'm allergic. Uh, oh, thanks, Darth. He said, great interview with Wick. Let's see. Da, da, da. So Lillian said, when I started perimenopause, I had a little bit of atopic psoriasis, and I got rid of it by not eating sugar. Yeah, you get rid of that inflammation, it does help. Cheryl says, as a CNA years ago, I had a client with thick, crusty legs with no relief, so he likely was sensitive to dairy. That is 90% of the time what is it is dairy. Um, but I'll tell you the biggest trick, and that's what I do with all of my people. It took one of the people I know very, very well. She she did not she did not want to give up dairy. She went kicking and screaming because she loves her dairy, but it does not love her back. And just recently, she kind of came to that realization that she needed to cut it out. And then, at some point, she'll see if she can do it. Um, but that's what I start everybody with. I'm like, let's eliminate everything. Let's just go to meat, salt, uh, maybe egg yolks if you can do that, and water. And then a week at a time, we'll reintroduce different food groups, just like you would with a child to see, like, you get any reactions? Do you notice anything? A lot of this you got to kind of journal and keep track of, like symptoms, going to the bathroom, headaches, any of the things, skin issues starting to come up, itching in areas, even if you're not getting plaques yet. That's a telltale sign when you get that itching and stuff that's coming. So but yes, more than likely, this poor fella that you took care of, Cheryl. Yes. So, um, I already did that. So, clothing choices. So, wearing soft, breathable fabrics like cotton to minimize irritation. I would also say, just like your linen, kind of like you see the Amish wear the linen. I think that's a very good idea. And there's lots of places that you can get linen from now. Bathing using lukewarm water with mild fragrance-free tallow soap. Actually, it just says fragrance-free, but I say tallow soap. You can add oatmeal or apple cider vinegar to the bath. It can help soothe the skin. It also can dry the skin. So it depends where you're at in your flare up. So I would just use a tallow based product, which you do not have to buy from me. You can buy tallow based products. There's tons of them out there now. Um, but I would use something that's got the good oils back in it that our bodies need. So I would do that. Another thing is people with these conditions getting into like chlorinated water, super crazy bad. How itchy they get, how it really kind of brings on a flare or makes one really really bad. So topical remedies for itching, you can use aloe vera gel. I actually have aloe plants that and you can just snap off one, squeeze that out, and put that on. That does help with itching and inflammation. Coconut oil to keep it moisture. Tallow, if you can do the pork fat, that's fine. The bacon grease, the lard, you can use that. Um, Apple cider vinegar, but you want to dilute it with water, okay? You want it to kind of balance the pH of the skin, which will kind of reduce the itchiness. Turmeric paste, which is anti-inflammatory, it's antimicrobial, and it will help soothe skin irritation. Tea tree oil, it's antimicrobial and it's anti-inflammatory, but it should also be diluted in with a carrier oil. I would do like a olive oil that's organic and maybe a little castor oil. I do have a patient that just mixed her up some stuff for hers. She has really bad edema to her lower legs. So I mixed up some stuff for her, but it has turmeric, it has cayenne, rosemary, it's got tea tree, it's got lavender, eucalyptus, peppermint, vitamin E. Was that it? Castor, jojoba, and olive. I believe that was it. But I mixed that up and that works really well for her. So um, that's the benefit of being one of Laura's patients is that you get to try these things and see how they work, and they're working really well for her so far. And her husband, he had some kind of neuropathy to his lower one of his feet, his ankle region. He was hit with shrapnel and shot in the face in Vietnam. I think he said it was like December something of 68. Like he tells you the exact day, of course. which it went through here like this. So he is blind. But he is super cool, very good. He can see shadows with one eye, but nothing pretty much with the other. But he also had been hit by, shrapnel and stuff like that. So he had a lot of nerve stuff with one leg, and he's been using it as well and says it's really helped him with his neuropathy with the pain. So, but these are things that you can mix up and make yourselves, and you can kind of look out and see what there is. So hopefully this has been informative. There are, like I said, there are several subgroups of these conditions. Um, but I think everything, if you can just take everything away and do an elimination carnivore style diet, lion version would probably be the best because that's just ruminant animals. But if you can't do that, if you can just do the elimination part for 90 days and then add one food back in at a time. Like I would start with dairy, to see, because within 7 days, you're going to know, like, yeah, I got a reaction to that. Same with egg whites. Like I know immediately, you know. So I think you're going to be able to tell that you have that. So let me see. Yeah, walnuts are better for anti-inflammatory than pecans. I can't eat walnuts. I am very allergic. The English walnuts and the black walnuts, and you ought to see the black walnut tree we have. It is huge. I forget. We measured it last year. I think it's huge. It's massive. I mean, it's not like the trees in California. I've never been there to see those. I want to go sometime. So Bill says, I watched somebody's carnivore video the other day mention don't put it on your skin if you are not willing to eat it. Yeah, um, I would say that is true. That's probably a good way to look at it. I would say most people would not. Yeah. Although I will say the tallow deodorant that I make that has like cocoa butter and shea butter, I suppose if I had to eat it, I could. I wouldn't be worried about it poisoning me, but I don't think it'd taste very good. I think it would dry my mouth out. But yes, I could. But yes, that's a good way to think about it. Let's see. Anyway, does anybody have any questions? I've got to go get into something that is a little cooler than this. It's crazy because it looks like it's getting ready to throw down a pretty good storm. We were 50s yesterday for temp, and we got to 84 today. Yeah, it's 84 right now. Um, so I know we've got a storm of brewing. It's coming. It's just, and you can see the trees are like moving like crazy. So, and my wind chimes are shattered on the porch. So definitely has been a windy day. So anyway, let's see. What are we going to talk about next week? So, as you guys know, every Monday I go on and do something. And if there's something that you want me to go over, research some stuff for you, let me know. Put that in the comments, and I will come back and I will do that. Let's see. Ooh, yeah. Next week is eating disorders. So I'm going to go over several eating disorders, and I would venture to say that probably 90% of people have suffered from an eating disorder at some point in their life. Um, so that would be, I'd be very surprised if most people haven't. I don't see as many men that have it, but there are some, and I have ran into some who do. So, anyway, I want to thank you guys for being here on this Monday. And if you like this, of course, hit that and subscribe if you're not. Share this out with somebody if they have this condition. And they can always go out and look up the essential oils and stuff that are really good for their skin and do that. I do make I make one called oh, that one's Oh My Aching Joints. The other one is Skin Deep is what I call it, and it works very well for that. So that is an option if you want to go to my website, which is scrolling at the bottom there. I do sell my stuff pretty much at cost because I want everybody to be able to have these things available to them. I want people on fixed incomes to be able to do it. single parents. I have all ages of people. I had a person who wanted to, I think it was Lithuania, and I cannot find out how much it would be to send stuff through. Like, I don't know, does customs charge stuff too, or do you just pay the shipping? And I don't know. I've never sent anything where it has to go through customs, and I have put out feelers and I can't seem to get any information back because I have a lady who would like to get some stuff sent over there, and I'd love to do that, because as cheap as I sell it, even if she had quite a big charge for some of those, it's still going to be a lot cheaper than buying most everything else. So, anyway, I will bid you guys farewell. Thank you guys for being here and chatting with me tonight. As I always say, meet, heat, eat, and repeat. Add salt. See ya.